Hey everyone, it's Commander Shipp, and just finished the live stream for the Oscars, the 95th Oscars, and I had a blast with everyone that came. Thank you for the Patreon supporters that showed up for our pre-show, for the pre-stream, and thanks to everyone that came and supported us. I know YouTube ended up taking down the stream, and in future, I know for a lot of the gaming spots, we tend to be able to show the game awards and things like that. I just stupidly thought, yeah, I'll show the Oscar stream, and YouTube shut that down. So that totally makes sense. Next year, we'll probably end up just doing a small group thing together, maybe just showing to Twitch and everywhere else our personal feed. But yeah, thanks for everyone that weathered those first couple disconnects. And yeah, here is my Oscar recap. I've definitely wrote an article for everyone, so if you want to enjoy that as well, you can prefer reading, got that for you as well. But the biggest news that everyone's already posting on social media, Michelle Yeoh, Ki-Hu Kwan, Jamie Lee Curtis, the Daniels, everything everywhere all at once, just really it was a near sweep. We'll get to what happened in the middle of the show. Because if you saw us live, we were freaking out a little bit. So much so that All Quiet on the Western Front became the butt of the joke by the middle of the night. But All at Once really did a fantastic job. One of the most transformative movies I got to experience last year. Walked out of it comparing it to my first feelings when I watched The Matrix. And really, I did not walk out of that movie with these kind of expectations. I didn't think it's definitely like the little engine that could, in a sense of like box office. I love that A24 really put their weight and support what they could behind the film, and so that was really impactful. That was really important. But when I walked out of that theater in the early screens back way early last year, could not in my wildest dreams have thought that this was going to happen. And you try to be objective to where you can, right? As far as just like presenting, like here's my opinion on what I think happened. Here's the reasons why I think that thing happened. So there's going to be it is subjective, but you're trying to use as objective as an approach as you can. And then you got to show your heart on your sleeve a bit. Be like, hey, I would love to see this one win, because I think it's really, it says a lot for Hollywood and where we are right now that this film won, and the manner that it did, and mopping up in the areas that it did. Michelle winning would have been big, so I'm not knocking that at all. That was a massive achievement. But winning Best Director, editing, Best Picture, Jamie Lee Curtis picking up one. Although I also think Stephanie could have picked that up as well. And we'll talk some Angela Bassett here in just a second, but Ki-Hu Kwan did not expect that kind of hit. Now they lost. So let's get to All Quiet on the Western Front. They came in international feature, obviously. Although I would still argue there's some international films that were not represented in the nominations. Most notably, No Bears. There was a Jafar Panini, Iranian director, currently jailed for pushing back, continuing his artistic expression. The movie literally is about making underground films in Iran. So I'm not trying to say that like just the meta context of that is the only reason that should be nominated. It is a fantastic film, but my feelings on the international feature nominations already were super tainted by that and a couple other films. So All Quiet winning there, it's fine. But then they started picking up for production design, score, which I thought Babylon and production design. I thought Babylon, even though the movie, a lot of people have opinions on the, a lot of feelings, a lot of negative opinions on the movie, and I would agree that it's a mess. It's a mess in narrative. It's a mess in the story, not in sound, and especially in the score. Justin Hurwitz's score, and for the production design of that movie. So I'm actually really surprised, but it could be some La La Land backlash, and I say that because as much as Hollywood can be predictable in picking something that talks about Hollywood, so that almost is sometimes a slam dunk. So I think there's a lot of reason that back when La La Land was there, it did so well. But there could be some fatigue there. And we've had a lot of Hollywood-focused movies the last 4 or 5 years. And I wonder if that ended up hurting Babylon in its award chances. Not about its reviews. The reviews were justified in how it did. So that's fair. I'm not questioning that. But I wonder if there might have actually been some voter fatigue. And with the way that Everything Everywhere did, I'm also wondering if we've gotten some newer voters in, or some fresher voters. Has the voting pool also been more diversified than maybe we're aware of or has been reported on? Because a lot of that's not made, even though we know the process and some of the voters, we don't know who all the voters are. And I'm wondering if maybe that has led to just people not really having a big interest in Hollywood biopics, or ones that are really focused on the early history of Hollywood. So surprised Babylon didn't do well there. I think All Quiet is a solid film. Not knocking. I do think it deserved to be nominated. And it could also be the structure of the broadcast, because they started out really strong with the supporting actor actress wins, and the animated with Pinocchio winning, Guillermo del Toro, like early on. And then we kind of hit a lull. All Quiet starts to win, and that feeling in the pit of my stomach starts to bubble up a bit, where I'm a little bit worried about what's gonna happen. Because early on, if you catch the live stream, once the supporting wins happened, I kind of felt really good about what was going to happen later. I thought there was a really strong chance of what I thought. Definitely thought best director was on the director or picture was on the table, and definitely Michelle's win seemed pretty locked. But was surprised by film editing, and definitely surprised by that. And everything well. So okay, let's circle back to Angela Bassett. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know. I wonder if some of the hype for Bassett's performance maybe is a legacy performance idea, right? Because there could definitely be some like lifetime achievement kind of swell in the reason that someone starts to get noticed or starts to get a lot of attention. I don't know for sure. Obviously, this is all speculation, so it's just my observations on how the buzz was happening around Bassett leading into the award season, or particularly coming into the Oscars, and getting Critics' Choice, Golden Globes, like starting to rack up some ones on her own. But that SAG award by Jamie Lee Curtis, the SAGs ended up being pretty predictive of a lot of what happened tonight. So I think that maybe it's one of those things of like the early wins by Bassett didn't actually translate into what, or they weren't reflective of the voters that were doing the Oscar votes. So that can happen. We can kind of get rope-a-doped. So for MCU fans or just fans of Angela Bassett, and I am a massive fan of her work and what she did in Wakanda Forever. What that entire cast did as a tribute to Chadwick Boseman should not be forgotten. Ruth Foster winning for costume design I was surprised, but I think that's also well deserved. Fantastic, very well deserved. I thought maybe Elvis or maybe even Babylon was going to get that. I'm pleasantly surprised that Black Panther got that, and it's not a some other surprises. Score surprised me a little bit. I thought Babylon would have gotten it. All Quiet got it, and actually, okay, let's get to the actual shockers. Spielberg got left at the altar basically. Because Michelle Williams didn't get Best Actress, he didn't get Best Picture, Best Director. John Williams didn't get Score. The Fabelmans, I go back and forth on my feelings on it, but I don't think it's bad by any means. I probably put it closer to like Bridge of Spies as far as like how much I enjoyed it, and it's still another solid Spielberg film, and the nominations I think are deserved. So I'm not. Wouldn't have been my pick for a lot of the wins. And I think that also speaks to, like, if we think the voting pool has been diversified, maybe that's a sign that the older blockbuster directors need to do something more fresh, or to change it up a bit. That might be controversial to say, or people might get mad at me for saying that, but I think that could be what's going on there. That could be an indication of why Fabelmans didn't do as well. Yeah. So again, it's not. It is. Oh, sorry, got a little. Yeah, it's not the Fabelmans is bad. I just think maybe we finally have a group that's willing to move outside that box. That might be another reason that Tar, which is definitely a movie that's so aimed at the at what we've expected Oscar voters to pick, didn't pick up anything. That was a bit of a surprise. Not necessarily Cate Blanchett not winning, but just surprised in other areas. It also didn't win. I will say, I'm going to set those two aside for a second. Banshees of Inisherin, I feel really bad for Martin Campbell and the entire crew, because it's like, in another year, that would have probably done Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Carrie Condon. Like, screenplay probably does fantastic, probably does well, and you're going up against a juggernaut. Yeah, if I'm also kind of like feeling a little, as much as I might be excited for everything, if I'm also a little lackluster, it's just my feelings on the Oscars have bounced so much over the years. I mean, this is the first one I've watched all the way through in a long time, just because usually the show is just not something I'm super excited about, or you get some nonsense, right, and you end up like, it becomes newsworthy not for actually enjoying the show, but just for more of the snubs and stuff that happens. So yeah, just to be fully transparent on my Oscar feelings, which we can dive into in another video. Last couple of little notes. Jimmy Kimmel posting pretty good. I do feel the Will Smith jokes kind of got old after a bit. I expected that in the opening monologue, so not surprised by that. But it's just, they went to that well was deep, and he got a few good ones in, and then at some point I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm done. I don't need any more of that. But Kimmel would have some good, outside of that, had some heat, had some zingers. It wasn't Ricky Gervais necessarily putting truth to power in the Golden Globes, and I know Gervais has kind of gone a different direction, so I'm not necessarily a champion for Gervais anymore, but I would give credit to what he did in those Golden Globe hosting jobs, and Kimmel was definitely leaning more towards that direction, and at least as far as some of the heat or the sting he had on some of his jokes. That Robert Blake joke, ooh. That one caught me off guard. That was solid. I'm sure there's someone's probably already put a YouTube compilation on, and it'll be up there very soon. So if you're like, what is he talking about? I missed that. You'll see what I'm talking about soon enough. And let's see. Do I have any other major thoughts? I think that might be it. Again, if you like reading instead of watching this video, go check it out on nerdunion.us. And oh my God, I almost be remiss. Taryn just wrote up an article for Women Talking. Women Talking won Best Adapted Screenplay because everything took Best Original Screenplay. So Women Talking was a book written by Miriam Toews, Canadian writer. Sarah Polley adapted that for the movie, and that won Best Adapted, which I think is, again, well deserved. And if it had picked up one or two more wins, I actually would not have been mad at that, because that was one of my favorite. Definitely I had that listed in one of my top, my top 10-ish list that I wrote for 2022, 10-ish. it was definitely high up there for me. So yeah, wouldn't have been mad if that had picked up a few more tonight. And yeah, so definitely want to, but check out Taryn. Taryn gave a spoiler recap just to kind of help people understand, especially if you need content warning for women talking, especially since it's talking about rape, sexual assault. And I'll have my review out later today. This video is coming out late tonight. You'll probably be watching it in the morning or sometime on Monday. My women talking review will be out soon enough. So that's the Oscars. Pretty good night. I'm sure I probably forgot some zingers or some. We had a really good time on the live stream, so I don't know if we'll be able to make that available. We will see what we can do. But hopefully, if you want to go back and rewatch that, maybe we'll pull some clips out, some of our funnest moments out of that, and have a blast with that. So thank you all as always. Hit the subscribe button for the YouTube channel, or if you're watching this on Twitch or Facebook, make sure you subscribe and like on those channels. And if you really like, if you wanted to catch that Oscar pre-show, for example, go check us out on Patreon. Your support there helps all of the writers on Nerd Union, so we can provide more essays, more videos, more articles, talk about nerd news, talk about the Oscars, talk about movies, TV, whatever it might be that we really nerd out and have an affinity for. So this has been Commander Shipp, and I'll see you next time.